to Me Guy show. Listen, Lars, always, guests are always dynamic and always bringing the pain. This evening, we have returning none other than Michelle Dickinson. Now, as you guys remember, last time we were talking about mental illness and the effects of mental illness and how it affects families, etc. Now, Michelle has done us a great favor. She's only going to readdress some of those things, but she's going to. Now, if you guys don't remember, let me assist you. Michelle is a teacher. She's with the Make a Wish Foundation. So she's done many. I know that you will find her. Even, welcome our guests that are with us, and we also want to before we turn and come on up. If you would like to FaceTime Michelle and ask any, and feel free to put any questions that you may have. Work out of the way. Michelle, it is so great to have you here with us. We're happy to see you again. Nobody asked me shit. Pleasure.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
And if you will, I know that is mental health in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
A quick excerpt last time as it refers to and depression in
Mm-hmm.
workplace.
The last time we met, it's been a few weeks now, so forgive me. We talked a lot about my experience growing up with my bipolar mother and what that was like for me, and the fact that she struggled with her mental illness, and I as a child, and then as a young adult, and now as a grown woman. So we talked a little bit about that. So yeah, so tonight I love these that exist in the workplace for so many Americans that are suffering from mental illness, but yet don't feel comfortable.
Absolutely. And absolutely. And that's always the sad part, is that when we as human beings are so far removed from the pain of others until we just simply choose to ignore their pain. Definitely appropriate, because we know that so many people are suffering in silence. To discuss that. So I or can def if we move a little further, does that meaning
I think, it's so funny. We like to compartmentalize ourselves, right? Like who you are at home is a different person. Unfortunately, society has taught us to put our game face on and go to work and pretend that we're okay. Right? You could be stressed, you could have burnout, you're dealing with disabilities personally that you're trying to manage, and then you're trying to keep yourself. I mean, a lot of things can cause you to have, cause you to have depression. You know, my mom was bipolar and I was adopted, and I thought I would be immune to mental health. But then I got a wake up life event that kind of came from left field. And so nobody's immune to mental illness, because life events are real with something that we didn't expect that we were going to deal with. And we're human beings. Yep.
visual
Yes. Yes. So, I think we're in a society where performance trumps everything. Performance comes first. And so a little bit of care and concern can go so far. Bottom line, if you just take care of your people. So, I would say the biggest issue that we have is we have people who are ashamed and they're afraid and they don't feel comfortable talking about a mental illness because they'll feel like they'll be perceived as less than or incapable or not worthy of a promotion. So they fake it, and that actually causes additional strain on top of their mental illness. There's just so much that can be done in the workplace to cultivate an environment of trust and compassion that an employee who might be dealing with something fosters with their leader, and their leader fosters with, they have the courage and they'll be met with compassion if they share with them, listen, they're given the same kinds of special support that any is an invisible disability. And when you look at diversity and inclusion in the workplace, it's disabilities and ignore those with invisible. So opportunity to really care for their people and meet them with whatever they're dealing with.
Just, but
at the end of the day, we want our leaders to care for them, grow up knowing in terms of what is an appropriate level of unconscious bias. So absolutely, emotional intelligence, a moment in time where we have such a great opportunity to really, people leaders in general, broach a topic around mental health, or they're going to violate someone's personal space. But if they're afraid to engage in a conversation around their behavior, right? They once were, or the performance that was so great suddenly. I'm part of an organization from Canada who's doing managers training to really empower leaders and have them suspect that their employees struggling with something. That and peer support, which I think is an incredible. Yeah. I think, at the end of the day, everyone's going to have their own level of comfort around understanding how to have a conversation like this. But if you have an organization that at the top level is saying, we are an inclusive organization and that includes those with a mental illness, leaders need to get on board, right? They need to get on board. You know what? There's things that at the end of the day, you want to care for your people. You want them to perform well. You want them to feel fulfilled. versus going out on disability or coming back and being a poor performer and having to be ushered out of the company. I mean, who wants that? Who needs that? So support your people is the biggest message that I have. Checking in, and even employees can check in with one another. How are you doing? Eyeball to eyeball. We're staring at screens all day long. We're staring at our phones all day long. But yet the guy in the cubicle next to you to be cared for at home. And maybe you just looking at him and saying, "Are you okay? Is everything all right? You seem a little..."
As you share that, and you talk about the check-in, with the synchronization of the leader and the person that may be struggling with revealing that he or she feels somewhat feel extra angst. Is there a plausible, non-invasive way of that person conveying to his or her leader? I know when you started the program off, you shared very clearly, and I guess I'm looking for an additional bridge. If an individual has a plausible way of conveying to his or her leader that, listen, something is happening here. I would like some assistance. However, I do not want to jeopardize my employment.
Yeah. I think that you can't just expect an employee to courageously open up and start. Shit has to be done. There's some fundamental trust building through act, and that rapport with your leader is so important. Of a company, I would say make the relationship with your people your prioritization, and God forbid that they encounter something or they need something, mental health day, whatever they need, that they will come to you and feel comfortable sharing with you, right? It's just the brain. We relate to every other organ as
and if we can segue on a little further, how about employee to employee? I know you've already shared with us about being comfortable and having an atmosphere, if I can use that word, having an atmosphere that is conducive to being able to share some of the challenges that one. And how similar is that to being able to do the same with a colleague who may be oblivious to this whole process?
Yeah. So the other program I'm a part of out of Canada should have. I am so passionate about this, and that's
and feel free to mention the company if you'd like.
We're talking
if you'd like, yes.
Yeah, no, I want to talk to them. No, I'm kidding. So employees with lived experience dealing with the mental health challenge, right? As proof positive that you can get through a hard time. And you give them a structured training. And then they become a support with any type of mental illness. Like, think about being able to talk and say to them, how the heck did you do it? What did you do when, manager A came to you? So the power of a peer-to-peer program within an existing workplace, I think, is the additional support mechanism that's missing right now. We have EAP. Here's the 800 number. Go give them a ring. Good luck. Good luck with that. Or benefits. Now, to look eye to eye in an employee that you sit next to in the cafeteria and be able to talk to them,
as
that's a game changer
sure
right
all of us,
there, if you ask
be it
me.
whatever the topic is, mental illness notwithstanding, if you have gotten comfortable enough to speak with a coworker about things of concern, and that coworker that you thought you could talk to, unfortunately,
Yeah.
that person, and there seems to be a divide once that has occurred,
Yeah.
or even that person. I know it's two-part question, or even that person may start his or her own little crusade, disparaging you. We have people
Yeah.
last time they were asking me questions about that later on after we got off. Can you give some suggestions as to when they enter programs, or when they visit programs, or when they're seeking programs that might address these kind of issues?
Yeah, I think it's so important that you really understand who you can trust. Just you either feel it or you don't feel it, right? And unfortunately, in the corporate environment, there's that kind of backstabbing situation that can occur. And that's the reality. That's why people keep it to themselves, try to navigate it themselves, put their game face on and pretend everything's okay, right? Because they heard a horror story about someone talks about it, and maybe that person doesn't want it shared. So I think it's really important to make sure that people know who they're talking to about their situation. It takes a lot of vulnerability to share with anyone. So that's why I love the peer program, because it's structured. If the person chooses to, they just want to talk to someone within the company and they don't know who it is. Because like these peers basically are taking an oath of confidentiality, and they're like, listen, this what you.
Yeah, no. Listen. Yes, I didn't want it to be
I think you're on
disturbed.
mute.
I didn't want us to be disturbed because I hear some noise in the background. But listen, I was looking at some information that you shared with me, and obviously this caught my eye from the first time I saw it. It says you can't have physical health without mental health. Will you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, think about it. We can eat all the green vegetables and exercise all day long. How is it that we can have our physical health? And a lot of times people will say, that it's almost like you got to make sure that your brain is healthy and that you're getting what you need, and that if you need a therapist, whatever kind of support you need for your brain health, it's so important if you really want total well-being, health, and ignore your brain health. It's just as
I'm looking at another statistic that you were sharing with me. You said 1 in 5 of Americans suffer annually from a mental health condition like anxiety or depression. 8 of 10 employees do not seek treatment because of fear or shame. And I know we touched upon that earlier, but do you consider that a high number or a moderate number? I mean, because to me, that seems like a very high number.
Yeah, I think people just don't. I don't know. I mean, younger. I mean, I think there are different generations and different cultural back. Just power through. Like, look at their problems. I think people don't know enough to seek treatment because they look through. that, the sadness or the their norm. So I think, I think people know that they need help because they've just gotten used to being. And then there's the fear and the shame, like, oh my God, like I don't need a shit, I don't want to be judged. I don't want anyone to think that, I can't keep the day. If your mental health is compromising your joy, to get the support you need. And if that means go and do it. Take care of yourself. Get your joy back.
One other graphic before we get to the book. I just wanted us to kind of touch upon this. Have you found that when you're working with, or when you even contemplate working with people in corporate or etc., there's a statistic. Research shows that for every $1 spent investing in mental health in the workplace has a $3 to $5 dollar return on investment. So, would you say that it would be easier to get the employer slash leader hashtag CEO to lend themselves to the idea of getting help for their employee, seen through the eyes of dollars and cents?
Fortunately, but if you look at, here's another statistic: mental health care costs for many employers across 17 billion US dollars in lost and productivity in the US because of unaddressed. About productivity that's lost, you're talking about dollars. Illness, it gets clustered in with the disability, right? Total. Look at that or not, it's happening. What can I do to better support my people? Savings when it comes to disability costs. To do the right thing because it's good by other people, but look at the dollars. You gotta look at the business aspect of it to get their attention. To really get leaders' attention.
Wow, that's powerful. And see thumbs going up and hearts going up, and I'm waiting on our individuals to ask questions. I'm checking my monitors, and they're loving what you're saying. But I guess, as I said last time, you would do a fantastic job because they just shoot the thumbs up and shoot the hearts up and ask any questions. Well, listen, if we can segue over now to Breaking Into My Life, Michelle Dickinson, is it Moravec? Yes. Michelle, as we talk about this book, will you please give our audience a synoptical understanding of what Breaking Into My Life is about?
So, I grew up with my mom who had bipolar disorder, and I had people dealing with her mental, physical, and emotional abuse. You can't really should, let people know that there's hope if you have persevere and come out on the other side. And so I told my story response. People were very related to and tell what that experience was like loving her. Was bipolar, so she had mania as what that experience was like for me. Maybe I could help less. So the book really takes you on up till just a few chapters, the experience loving my mom and all of that, and then the impact that that experience still positively. So that's really it. It's just my journey and mental health through my story. But I also get that bipolar mom, but your childhood might have had an abusive alcohol future from this moment forward, and can get through that and create my future. So can you. And I want that you can have a life
That's powerful.
that you
Listen, we want to
love.
welcome again some of our colleagues with Mr. Wonderful and Luke. Glad you guys are here. Feel free if you want to ask. Well, you guys know how the platform works. If you want to grab one of the cameras and FaceTime Michelle, feel free to do so. Michelle, to say I've read the book would be a gross misrepresentation. However, as I was scanning through it and looking through the book and looking at the information, one chapter caught my eye. I married my mother. Can you help? Can you share with us? It just kind of caught my eye as I was thumbing through it and kind of looking through it and reading some information there. I say, oh, wow, this seems very interesting. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
There's no shame in admitting that I have been in came from my therapist. So I went to my parents' house to get married when I was probably I was going from into the deep fryer, and I didn't even know what I was familiar with. Right, my mom was a very controlling and mentally abusive person, and so of course I found myself gravitating to someone like that as well. And so it wasn't until years of therapy later, when I was getting divorced, that my therapist said, you just happened to gravitate to the male version of your mom because it was familiar. It wasn't the right thing for you, but it was familiar and comfortable for you.
That's an
So
interesting
that's
topic,
just
and
what happened.
I just thought, wow, that's to me, that was a very powerful statement to make, and as you relate that to us,
Yeah.
I do appreciate that. Now, also, I was looking at in part 3 where you had your transformation. You said epiphany. And as I said, I do not want to pretend I've read the whole book when I received it, but I have been thumbing through it, and I've seen a whole lot of things there that are very interesting. But anytime I see epiphany, because I am a process person, so when I see the word epiphany someplace, especially in written documentation, I wonder what was the relationship and what was it connected to?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think one of my biggest epiphanies was, I had put myself through a lot of self-discovery work. I just was always hungry to learn, to peel back the layers of my onion and understand myself, why I tick the way I tick. So I put myself in a lot in Tony Robbins, one of Tony Robbins' programs, where I just got that, like, as a young girl, I was muted. No matter what I needed or wanted, I never raised my hand and asked for it. It was always about keeping peace in the house and keeping mom happy. And I never raised my hand or spoke my truth. So I think in that instance, I had this big epiphany that, like, this is how I was living my life. I was muted. I had so much to say, and I was so unhappy, and I never had the courage to raise my voice and speak up for myself. And I think the epiphany was like, made me realize, here I am doing it again, and I'm in my 40s.
It's very interesting how you life and the way you're explaining things to us and breaking it down. And if I can refer, if I can digress backwards a little bit to the information that you sent me, and I'm looking at the I guess the
Mhm.
synergistic information here as it relates not only to research, but also as it relates to your personal experience.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting if people, and hopefully this will become a bestseller. If people will buy Breaking Into My Life, they will have a very strong piece of information that actually speaks to research. And you literally, from my vantage point, and you are literally giving a personal account of information that researchers spend millions of dollars trying to find out. I found that to be very interesting because when I
Mm,
looked at this information and I was going through the book, and I went, wow, even though I realized that the numbers and the statistics and that kind of thing are listed here, which I appreciate very much, but your book is research based from a personal growth. And I feel very strongly for our audience that
yeah.
they should get this book, Breaking Into My Life, because you are saying it all. Is that many times we are embarrassed and shamed into not disclosing our struggles as it relates to our mental, what some may
Right.
call issues, when quite in fact it's life,
Right.
and it's life from a standpoint that you know this already. Whereas the
Hmm.
the person or persons that feel as though he or she has it all together and doesn't have any quote mental situations unquote, many times are lying to themselves,
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
many many times, and that's what you allude to, and as you share, and that's why
Yeah.
your
So true.
chapter caught my eye, man. When I saw I married my mom, I'm going like, wow, I have got to hear you explain why. And see, again, there go the hearts and there go the thumbs. That's great. There go the hearts and there go the thumbs. So
Yeah.
listen, I promised you I wouldn't keep you half the night. And because I could talk about this with you all day, as I look through this information that you're sending here, and as I work with young people all the time, I'm a motivational speaker myself, and as I try to encourage people and try to help remove them from other people's stigma, and this is not about me, but I love to see and speak with individuals that say, well, hey, I am working to improve me, and in working to improve me, here are some of the steps that I
Yeah.
used. Here's some of the steps that I still lend to, and here's what I recommend, which is all the things that I'm hearing from you. And it's very, see, there go the thumbs up and the hearts again. So this is great,
Mhm.
guys. We want you to buy this book, Breaking.
You know,
Go ahead.
there's something. I mean, like, I think nowadays we all
Yes.
walk around and try to pretend everything is perfect, right? Social, I don't know, it sure isn't reality, right? It's just sugarcoating your life. Like everyone's life looks perfect, right? Come on. There is something really special about being genuine and being honest and being authentic, because then you can be relatable and people go, oh my God, I'm not so broken after all. Look, there's another human being walking around just like me. So we almost give each other permission to just be us when we are honest and we are authentic. And that's never going to not be, because I know it's going to help someone, coming behind me,
No,
have it be
I
a
was
little
going to ask
bit
you for
less
Jim.
of a
No, I
challenge for
concur
them.
because how often do we sit at home alone someplace, even you don't say it out loud and you say in your mind, man, I'm sick of this. People, but we relate to ourselves. So that's why I'm so happy that we are speaking and that you are so open and that you are so candid, because it's, how can I say, very honestly, it's very frustrating many times when we encounter other people that are in pain, and they are put in further pain because of the selfish individuals that they are trying to relate to. And they are put down and made to feel badly and situations like that. So it's always great to hear an advocate with a humanistic approach. And dare I say, that has been all my prayer, and that's what I talk about all the time when it comes to, people try to make everything racism and all of that. I ask them one question all the time. I said, obviously people have their opinions. Okay, I get all of that. But Michelle, my question has always been to everybody. That's why my show is named the Nobody Asked Me Guy Show. And I think I shared that with you. I said, okay, so when you were conceived, were you asked any questions? And they know where I'm going. And many times, people get very angry with me when I ask that question. I said, were you asked any questions? Were you asked any questions? And I get this deer in the head, like, look, because we spend so much time trying to, you said it, categorize people and label people and put our thoughts and our ideas on people, etc., when no one can explain what happens in the birthing process. You just wake up one day and realize that you are a person. Yeah. So when I talk to the Michelles of the world, it's very, see the thumbs and hearts. Every time you share something, the thumbs and hearts go up, by the way. I hope I'm not getting a little jealous because the thumbs and hearts go up. So I just want to relay that, is that it's refreshing to hear and speak with someone that understands that, yes, life is full of challenges. Yes, it does come at us many times from all directions. Yes, it does give me some relief, although it does not negate the challenges that I'm dealing with. However, it does help sometimes to know that I'm not the only one that's in this kind of pain. Yeah. But listen, are there any closing remarks you like to share with our audience before I get to the logistics of letting them know how they can get in touch with you and how they can get this fantastic book?
I think, as a society, we should be doing a better job of just asking each other if they're okay, right? Just like, we go around with our, like I mentioned before, on our devices all the time, and it takes such a little bit of effort to look into someone's eyes and just genuinely ask them if they're okay. Life, and so I think if we could all just do that, just really look into each other's eyes and check in and care for one another, I think the world would be.
Well, Michelle, we are so grateful that you have taken the time to come back again. And that's not to say that we don't want you back a third, fourth, and fifth time. We're just so grateful, that you've taken the time to check in with us. And we want all of our listeners, all of our watchers, to go out and get Breaking Into My Life by Michelle Dickinson. And Michelle, the last name I have here is Moravec. Is that correct? Is it Moravec? Okay. It's Dickinson because she's divorced. So we want you guys to look for Breaking Into My Life. Michelle, how might they get this book?
Sure. Amazon, you can get the Kindle version or the hard to get it. You can also learn more about me and what I'm up to around the making changes and helping corporate cultures, and even can contact me on my website, which is michelledickinson.com. I have a children's program as well. So I'm empower them to be change agents in their own company. So
I keep putting myself on mute because I'm getting some background noise. But anyway, Michelle, that's fantastic. We want to know more. I know the show is. I want to know more about that show that you're talking about. Can you give us just a little bit about what does it entail? The video, you said a moment ago that you do a show. Did I miss? Yes, the children's program. I'm saying show. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a children's program. I think. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a wellness program for children to really help them their brain. Because we want kids to be able to know if they're feeling off and that they can raise their hand and ask for support. So my wellness program for children is really designed to have them get connected to the feelings and the emotions that they're having, and to recognize that the brain is just and say, hey, I don't feel so great. And we get them the help that they need. So they don't grow up in a era where there's a stigma, right?
Absolutely.
If we can
Listen,
squelch
I just want you to
when
bring
they're
that
little,
out. Thank you very much.
they'll have
So listen, ladies and gentlemen, we want to again thank you for joining us on the Nobody Asked Me Guys show. I'm your host, Melvin Lars. Listen, come back next week, 7 o'clock p.m. We're going to have none other than Miss Lorraine Taylor. Now, unfortunately, Miss Taylor has an organization called 1,000 Mothers, and it's called 1,000 Mothers because she lost her twin sons to gun violence. They were not involved in the violence as far as being participants. Unfortunately, they were outside working on their car, and some non-intelligent person comes by shooting at other people and murdered these two young men. She has a national organization called the 1,000 Mothers. So come back next week at 7 p.m. and engage in us as we listen to Mrs. Lorraine Taylor. So again, guys, we thank you very much for joining us on the Nobody Asked Me Guys show. We again want to thank our guest, Miss Michelle Dickinson. And as always, she does a fabulous and fantastic job. So again, we bid you adieu. And we want you guys to know very simply, if you go to www.dyingonmyfeet.com, you can access me right there. You get all of my social media sites there. You can find out how to contact me on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, the whole nine. So please come and join me. So Michelle, once again, thank you so very much for being here with us on the Nobody Asked Me Guys show. And want everyone to have a great and blessed night.